where was I? So yeah, so we played the tournaments, and then I feel like I could have had a stronger draft. It's like the first draft that I had was okay, but it had such very particular win conditions, and I struggled like closing, like dealing tower damage. So that was definitely like hard for me. My second draft was so bad. It was so bad. This artifact of a tournament system. As of right now, they're fixing it. We did third party yesterday, sort of, but it still worked out really well. I like the idea that you should be able to do both anyway. Really like the internal one. I mean, even this one, it was pretty automated. So you don't have to do much. I can never tell what I'm allowed to talk about because some of the stuff just gets leaked. And so I'm like, okay, it's out there. Am I allowed to say? Am I not allowed to say? But yeah, there was definitely it was best of three. I think that one is fine to say because the ladders were out, and I think you could pretty much pick that up. It was best of three. Whenever Swiss best of three, and there would you draft after a certain number. You do another draft after a certain number of rounds. Isn't the date in November? Or are you talking about the Artifact TI? I don't know when that one is. But I know game drops in November. Why can't you bring your own deck into the tournament? It depends. So I've done, like I said, I've done both. I've done both. One of my one of the favorite tournaments that I played in, this was a couple of months ago, was not draft. So it was constructed. But I thought it was very interesting because people like would group up and like spar privately with each other, testing their decks and making sure it's strong before registering it. And there's like some groups that were like gunning for other groups, not in a malicious way. It was just like very interesting that they're like, okay, this is the group to beat, or this is the guy to beat. So this is what he plays, or this is how he plays. Like let's come up with something that is amazing. And then it's very interesting, and meta shifting, I guess, like, and I think that's what's like so good about having like these like tournaments. Like when people say, oh, why would they put a prize pool on an internal testing tournament or something like that? And I'm like, and I think some people hit the nail on the head as far as like why they would do it is because why would anybody try if there's not something on the line? And to address what you said, isn't it unfair that some people already have thousands of hours already in the game and so many people haven't even played yet? Launch day might be rough. No, because the conditions that people in the closed beta right now are doing is not the same as when it goes out. And at the same time, I don't think the number of hours someone plays is going to be as much of a contributing factor as much as how much a person quickly picks up or understands a game. There's just going to be some people, for example, that are going to be inherently better at understanding card games versus someone like me who does not. Like, I got destroyed yesterday by, one of the guys that was new to the game just because he's already an amazing like pro player in a different card game, and I've played like a lot longer than he has. But it's just that they have a better understanding and decision making process. Like for someone like me who would say, if I have this deck and I have like 3 options to play right now, I would value like say this decision over that decision, whereas because I'm like looking at it like, oh, I have to look at it for this play and how it affects my 2 other lanes, right? But then there's some people that they see it that way, and then how it affects like, what goes on like for the next one and the next one. Artifact is harder than, I mean, I consider it's like the Dota of card games right now, right? I don't see it like in like for fairness, because I mean I think most card games will have that. Dota, pro players had, a lot of like pro players in Dota, for example. I mean, even like in Hearthstone, Hearthstone, like people were able to play it like ahead of time. You just that is an inevitable thing to happen, because you cannot have the public immediately be the test and the balance of what's going on. At the same time, this is, you're only looking at it from the competitive aspect of like Valve, I guess, like for their Artifact TI. Whereas if I was gonna do a tournament right now, I don't know if I want to do a tournament that's open to just the general public. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. But at the same time, why wouldn't I run a tournament where I invite like every big name player out there? Because it's gonna bring in more sponsors, more viewers. And as a third party tournament organizer, that's what I need to do to make a successful event. I just don't know how successful an open event would be from a perspective of like, the general public consumption. Maybe on the initial turnout, because like, oh, it's the only one that's like this right now. But let's be real. Everybody would say like Dota, like I'm gonna use Dota as an example again because that's been my world, right? Like, oh, we need more tier 2 teams, tier 3 teams. We need more tournaments for them, blah blah blah. Yeah, we do. And we try, but nobody fucking watches them. Why isn't anybody watching these things? You keep saying that we need it, and no one watches it. Having a lot of people that understand, high level competitive play is very important in figuring out the initial balance and structure of things before it goes out to the general public. If you guys are coming from like other games, if you guys are here from like Hearthstone or Gwent or what do you call it, like Magic, right, or any of that stuff, and you're scratching your head and like, I don't understand why this is a thing. I guess like, so someone coming from the Valve world / Dota 2, I get it, and I'm probably a little more understanding of it, even though it's not a one-to-one, because the only thing they have in common are like the name of the heroes and some of the lore, would be that you don't always want to balance, from like, there's two ways to balance things, and you need to find that the balance in the balance. You can't just balance for whatever like the general public thinks is OP. And at the same time, you don't always want to balance for just what like the competitive scene is about. But the competitive scene, I think, is important because that's what people are going to be emulating. Sorry, I think I'm missing like a lot of stuff in chat too. I wish you could play the game instead of hearing people talk about it. Yeah, that's like, I get the frustration that people have about, about it, but at the same time, we're almost there. And I understand why some people were upset, why Reddit was upset about like, oh, why can't they stream the tournament? Why couldn't they let the players stream the tournament? I mean, shoot, I would fucking love to. But I understand why we can't. Like, people think the game's done. Like, it's not. There's still a lot of stuff that, it's like small stuff that needs to be ironed, but it's getting there. And I think it's just like, people are excited. You're gonna have to look at it from this perspective, right? To address your concern about balancing, about when you queue up in matchmaking. If you queue up in matchmaking and you happen to queue up against, like, say, Life Coach or something, and he absolutely destroys you, and then you're like, well, what the fuck? One game. What are you gonna do? If you're the general person that doesn't care about, going pro or going competitive. You're just, first of all, you might not even know who life coach is if you're that person, right? So you're like, okay, whatever, I'm just gonna queue up in the next one. And then, but if you are that type of person and you're like, what the fuck, I just got destroyed by life coach, what are you gonna do? You're gonna pull up the match ID, watch the replay, look at the cards they play, maybe copy the deck and just like make that deck your own and start playing with it and tweaking it to be your own. And that's gonna happen within like, you know, the next couple of days. That whoever plays that person, whoever plays you, if you did that and you absorb that information and start using it, it's just gonna spread like a freaking virus. And then everybody, and then whoever you play against is now gonna be playing against that. And then you're like, oh, now that person's gonna be like, what the fuck is this random person playing? Like, I just got destroyed by it. It's so good. And that's how something organic, like, you know, organic like meta just like spreads and grows. And it's not a bad thing, because that's just gonna be like what, in the first couple of days, and then after that everybody's on the same playing field, because it's not like that information is a secret from you. If anything, you're on an advantage being able to like play, if you're able to queue against someone like that, because then you're getting that information faster than waiting for someone else to bring it to you. If that's like, if that makes sense. I mean, exactly. It's kind of like similar for Dota, right? It spreads like wildfire. Like, you can't say that like someone, when the changes in Dota 2 came out, like with the shrines and the talents and all of that stuff, you can't say that like some of these people did not play, because I mean, it's an absolute known fact that Dota 2 has beta testers. To this day, they will always get initial access over someone else. And then these people have that information, you know, and bring, and then they'll take that like information that they've discovered out there once it goes public. And honestly, I don't have a problem with that, because I'm not ashamed to admit I am not smart enough to come up with that stuff. Maybe here and there I'll get lucky and I'll discover like an interaction or two that I'm like, okay, this is better. Or in a vacuum, like say, I'm not good at Dota 2, but I'm really, really good with like Death Prophet, right? I don't even, or Sniper, whatever, like pick a hero. I'm really, really good with this hero. I'm like 5k MMR with this hero, I'm 2k MMR with this one, right? With the 5k MMR one, I can figure that shit out on my own, because I know how her ins and outs and all that stuff. But with everybody else, give me that freaking Dota Plus guide. Give me that Tortellini guide. You know? What did other people do? Tell me. Dota Plus, Dota Buff. What did they do? What do people play? I don't like people. I don't ever want to come off as saying that only pro card players are going to be good at this game, because that is definitely not true. I definitely think that unlike games like Dota or, you know, Counter-Strike, where there's a mechanical skill involved, it's not important in this game as it is in those games. So I definitely think that the pool, the talent pool is wider. And personally for me, like on a gender perspective, it's very exciting to see like a lot of like really, you know, great like women in the scene that I know that like are just like kicking butt in the game.